Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 8 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with My Elder Care Advocate, CEO, Jack Halpern, and My Elder Care Advocate, COO, Claudine Halpern. From preventing nursing home evictions to providing ongoing health monitoring, My Elder Advocate offers families peace of mind, knowing a plan is in place to ensure the best possible care for their aging relatives. And we're going to talk to Jack and Claudine about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 8 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with My Elder Advocate, CEO Jack Halpern, and My Elder Advocate, COO Claudine Halpern. And from preventing nursing home evictions to providing ongoing health monitoring, My Elder Advocate offers families peace of mind, knowing a plan is in place to ensure the best possible care for their aging relatives. Hi, Jack. Hi, Claudine. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
How are you, Marty? How you doing? This is Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hi,
How
Marty.
you doing today? Hi, Claudine. How you doing today?
I'm good.
Good,
How about
good.
you?
It's fantastic to have you on the show. We always like to ask our guests where you're calling from this morning.
We are calling from our home office in Brooklyn, New York, but we are based in New York City, New York. We provide our services across the country, but we are based in New York City.
That's wonderful. I have to say, I'm going to be very partial to both of you today. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, from Carroll Gardens, actually.
All right.
I was very excited to have you on the show, and my
Great.
family listening as well, so it's great to have both of you on the show today. Our guests are probably
Great.
asking, what is My Elder Advocate, and maybe we could talk a little bit about, who your customers are.
Okay, certainly. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to
welcome.
be on your show. My Elder Advocate is a holistic elder care services company, but before I get into some of the specifics, let me just give you two outstanding examples. Recently, a very high-powered celebrity attorney who travels a lot, he lives in New York but travels a lot, retained us because he traveled so much. He wanted something in place for his parents, and he wanted to make sure that his parents will be taken care of while he's away. So we came in, we did a needs assessment, and we became their elder advocate. And 2 months later, his mother took ill. She broke a hip, went to a hospital. So we were there, Johnny, on the spot to make sure that she got the right types of services. Another recent client called us because his mom was in the hospital, had a stroke, and after about only a week in the hospital is saying she's got to leave. She's got to go to a substandard nursing home. She's got to get out of the hospital. So there we were. My elder advocate was there. We made sure that she was taken care of, that she went to a great place for rehab, and she recovered enough to go home. But we do provide a whole bunch of services. We provide people certainly with advocacy in any type of elder care situation they're in. We do a lot of long-distance work, so with long-distance caregiving. So imagine you're in your office and you're on a very important project, and you get a call from your mom's neighbor. Hey, we haven't heard from your mom for 3 days, and the police come and they come into the home, and the person had fallen the day before. And here, what does this person do? Does she get on a plane? Does she run over there?
Right.
No, she calls my elder advocate. So we do a lot of with long-distance caregiving. We do advocacy for people who are in nursing homes. We prevent people from getting into bad nursing homes. We do hospital crisis intervention. And what we like to do the most is planning, because planning is such an important part of this whole process, and it makes the process easy. Many people do not plan, and they suddenly come on to a situation, and they think that the mom's going to go to the hospital and she's going to get time to recover, and then she's going to go to a palatial place where they'll take wonderful care of her. And then they find out that this is all a reimbursement-based system, so they have to go where they're told to go. So my elder advocate comes in and takes care of that crisis and makes sure that everything comes out okay. We certainly do placement in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, adult homes. We do home care management. So we are not a home care agency, of course, but we do help people plan for home care. And, of course, we do nursing home eviction prevention services. Many nursing homes like to, at certain times, for various reasons, like to evict patients and send them to either force them to go home before their time or go to other types of facilities. So we're there and we prevent those types of eviction. And, of course, we always monitor constantly, whether we place somebody in a nursing home or we help them with home care. We're always there to monitor progress and make sure that they always stay safe.
These statistics were alarming, Jack and Claudine. When I was going over them this morning, one of them that stood out, it mentioned that medical studies indicate that the rate of death is 5 to 9 times higher for residents who are transferred compared to those who actually remain in the facility. That's pretty alarming, isn't it?
That is extremely alarming. What's more alarming is even if you move a resident from room to room, it could be a traumatic experience. But this happens all the time, and people are moved all the time for various reasons in nursing homes. And yes, if you move a resident from one facility into another facility after they've been in one facility for a couple of years, they will deteriorate very, very quickly and die very, very quickly. A move like that has to be done with a lot of planning, with a lot of support from the family. You can't just do it, but it's done very, very often, and it's done in a very, very unprofessional, poor manner without any regard to the needs of the resident or their family.
Your service, Jack and Claudine, is having your customers or your clients think in a proactive versus a reactive manner. And it's probably the worst time to, I guess, make a decision, right? I mean, you find out that your mom or your dad had a stroke. You just probably don't make the best decision at that time, you know. So, and I think that's why your service is so important. How did you come to identify this need? Because we've been doing this show a long time now, and we haven't really had this type of concept on the show. So I think it's very unique.
It is very unique. We can't find too many people who do it in such a holistic approach.
Right.
People do bits and pieces. But I've been in this business for 41 years.
Wow.
I used to be a nursing home administrator. So I know what families go through when this type of situation comes up. But you're absolutely correct. If you plan this and a person and a patient, say they're in the hospital, or even if they're planning at a point when they're not sick, which is the best time to plan,
right?
They will become aware, and we educate them as to what will happen to them if they are in that situation, what they will need, what paperwork they will need, how to protect their legal interests, how to protect their assets. So we plan for that. So if somebody goes into a hospital after they've planned everything that we know, and we've done our very intricate and very involved needs assessment, and we know everything about them, and then they go to a hospital, it's no longer a crisis situation. At that point, my elder advocate is on the spot to deal with the social workers in the hospital, to deal with the physicians, to deal with any type of situation that occurs in the hospital, to advocate for them, to make sure they don't get bed sores, to make sure that the hospital doesn't put them on antipsychotic drugs.
Right.
So it's a wonderful situation. But when you're dealing with crisis, everything has to be done quickly because the hospital wants to kick you out. The hospital wants you out of that bed. Medicare is saying we're no longer covering you. The insurance company gets involved. So it becomes a terrible, terrible crisis, and then you have to make decisions based upon facts that you're not aware of. And what happens is those people go to a substandard nursing home, and suddenly they're in danger. So absolutely being proactive in this type of thing and having the right paperwork and having the right facts. It's about education. So, yes, absolutely. Being proactive is a lot easier than having to deal with a crisis. And, yes, we are very unique because our model is built on my extensive experience. And we know, we're experts in the field.
Your customers, Jack and Claudine, are they the children of, who would you consider your primary customers then? Is it the children then?
Primary customers, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes, our customers are the children. We rarely have, although it has happened where people have found out about our services and were already at the point where they needed services and, yes, had specific needs and wishes as to where they'd like to go. But it's very rare. It is mostly the children and the families of the elders who either want to plan or they are already in a crisis situation and mom has fallen and she's already in the hospital. So they get in touch with us and then we're there right away. Yes,
great.
It's the children.
That's great. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the history of My Elder Advocate. Maybe, at what point, Jack and Claudine, did you decide to franchise the concept?
I'm going to take that if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, that's fine.
We have been thinking about franchising since we opened the company, and we went back and forth. We opened this particular company. Its current state has been around since 2008.
Okay.
We have been working on franchising for the last year.
Right.
And we've gotten our documentation on December 2nd.
Okay, December 2nd. Okay.
Yes, and we are licensed to sell in New York State and in the country in non-registration states. Now, the reason that we decided to franchise as opposed to open branches is quite simple. What happens when we open branches is it's our job to find the right people, it's our job to find dedicated people, and we have to manage those people. We had a lot of people who were asking us, how do I get into this business?
Right.
How do I do this? And as we spoke to those people, we realized that those people that we were talking to were highly professional people who actually were able to manage their own businesses. They just didn't know how to do this particular business. It's also the best way for us to get the services across the country and across the world in the shortest period of time.
I agree, Claudine. I think, I did my I recently completed my doctorate degree, and the topic, of course, was on franchising. But there was, in part of the dissertation, it did focus a lot on, the theory of going with somebody who actually owns the business, the franchisee, versus hiring a manager. And there have been a lot of studies, you're right, showing that, the franchise owner is going to work harder because it is theirs. They have, I guess you could say, that bigger stake in the business, So it really is a fantastic way of growing the business, So I think that was very, clever of you to use franchising as a method of expanding across the country, which it could also be very expensive, I imagine, by the way, too, So I think that's fantastic. What are the expansion plans then for My Elder Advocate, Jacqueline Claudine?
My Elder Advocate is we are planning 5 franchises in the first 6 months. The reason we're limiting it to 5 is that we want to make sure our model works, our process works, and everything works quite well, and have those people up and running before we go further. At that point, so sometime early third quarter of this year, we're planning on adding either 5 or 10 more franchises through 2015. It depends on who comes to us. We're being very, very, very careful on who we award the franchises to. We hope to have about 100 units within 5 years and some international presence. And Marty, the funny thing is, when we talk to people about our plan, they look at us and say, "How are you going to keep it this tight? How are you going to stop people from wanting to buy franchises in the space?" And the really interesting thing that's been happening over the course of the last couple of weeks, I mean, it's not even more than weeks, is we are getting a tremendous amount of interest in people looking to buy franchises who are exactly in our sweet spot of the type of people that we're looking for.
That's an interesting point, Claudine. Is I guess a good question to segue into is what types of characteristics then would you be looking for in your franchisees? It sounds like there's something specific that you are looking for.
It's actually quite specific. We are looking for people who love to network and meet new people. A lot of this business is going out and meeting new people. One of the characteristics that I ask and I look for is something called a corporate escapee. It's my funny joke. But someone who's worked in corporate, who knows how to deal with systems, who's been very, very successful, and for one reason or another is no longer doing that and wants to get into their own business. We're looking for overachievers, people who like to work and get things done, executives, salespeople.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to have elder care services in your background. Though the funny thing is, we are getting people who have elder care services in one of two ways: either they work in elder care services themselves, or they have had a situation with a parent or someone, and they come to us because of that experience.
That must be interesting too, because and I guess they have that passion then for that business too, because they've been through that situation. So it probably, I suspect, makes them even a better, I don't want to use the word salesperson, but speaking with conviction about the business model, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does, and it's interesting that the people we're talking to. About 10 people right now who are looking to become franchisees, and we're just in the negotiation stage. And those people are either in the healthcare businesses themselves or they have a parent. There's nothing else that we've seen so far, and that's really very exciting.
That's fantastic. What would a typical day be like then, Jack and Claudine? I mean, for your franchisees, for our listeners are saying, wow, this sounds really great. I'd like to, research this a little more. How do you typically describe a day from, I guess you could say, from morning till like the end of the day, everything else that goes on in between?
Jack, you want to take that one?
It sounds like it could be like a lot of like networking, like you say, Claudine. Which is a big part of the business.
So the very important thing is that no 2 days are the same.
Right.
And that's really important to understand. And because no 2 days are the same, you'll have a combination of things. But let's talk about a week rather than a day, because then it pretty much hits everything.
Right.
So you'll do some networking. You'll do client research and preparation and scheduling, because every client that comes in needs a little bit of research done as to what their personal situation are, what state they're in, exactly all that other stuff. You'll visit local establishments. For example, you need to know all of the nursing homes, you need to know the assisted living facilities, the elder care services providers, the geriatricians, et cetera, in your neighborhood. So you'll visit those and create relationships with those. You'll meet with new clients. You'll follow up with existing clients. And, of course, you'll do some administrative work, as every business has some administrative work. So it's a combination of everything. And a smart business, and we will help you, of course, put together a plan if you're not able to do that. But a smart business person knows how to schedule Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday across, so that everything that needs to be done is done, and it's done in a way that's organized.
Which is great, I think, for like the I guess you could say like the corporate type of salespeople as well, right? I mean, it could even, like, I'm seeing like even like people coming from corporate America, like you say, like executives or something like that, who like that, more like, I'm going to say like 9 to 5, like Monday through Friday, versus like working on a weekend, like in a retail situation, So I think that's interesting.
But let me just make a note that because we work on our client schedule.
Right, that's true.
I cannot say this is truly a 9 to 5. I mean, you will need to see people on weekends and at evenings, but it's nothing where you would get a call in the middle of the night and you have to drop everything and go somewhere. That you don't have to do.
Exactly. I think that's fantastic. Maybe we can talk a little bit about, this industry, when I was looking at the numbers, from the last time I looked at them, which has been a while ago, the industry keeps getting bigger, isn't it? It just seems to keep growing. Maybe Jack or Claudine, one of you could talk about that.
I can talk to that. So today 29% of the population consider themselves caregivers. So if you're sitting in a room with 3 people, look left, look right, one of you is a caregiver.
Right.
Family caregivers give up about $522 billion, that's $1 billion of income a year to take care of seniors. That's the dollar value, that's the immediate dollar value that we look into. The estimated population of people over 65 in 2013 is 71 million. That's in the United States.
That's incredible.
206% population growth is projected for people over 85 between 2000 and 2020, and a 449% population growth of over 85 between year 2000 and year 2050. And these numbers come from the Census Bureau. So as far as a growth industry, I don't think you can find another one that has this much potential.
No, and that's one of the themes on our show too, is as we've been emphasizing to our listeners over the last 8 years, Claudine, is to look towards the industry and then look at, the growth rate. And when I was looking at the growth rate in, your industry, which I've always been a fan of for a long time, it really is, it's overwhelming when you look at the growth, isn't it? It's quite spectacular.
Right.
What's the training? What's the training like? For once you decide that it's a match, and they say, okay, you like them and they like you and they want to go forward and they become a franchise owner. How does the training work? Do they come out to New York?
Yes, they come out to New York. We do training once a month.
Okay.
So they come out to New York for the week. And I can go through some of the modules that we cover, and it's very interesting because we will give you a holistic view of the issues around and how to deal. So Elders and Elder Care in America is our first module. We talk about how to get familiar with your franchise zone. We talk about marketing and sales. We have a series of systems that are in the MIA process, the My Elder Advocate process, and we talk about how to use those systems. We talk about planning the office and staff, dealing with the customers, and a separate module on long-distance care management.
Wow, that's fantastic. Who gets credit for the name, by the way, Jack Claudine? I said one of you picked out that name. I thought it was a great name for the company. It's very clever.
I do.
You get credit for that one, Jack? It's a great name, by the way.
I get the credit. I get most everything that I do in my life. I give credit to my wife, but My Elder Advocate.
You're a smart man.
Yeah, I was sitting around. Well, we've been married almost 43 years.
Oh,
so,
God bless you. That's wonderful.
I know how to stay safe. But anyway, but yes, I was actually the one that came up with that name because of the, My Elder Advocate, because My Elder Advocate really becomes. If anybody checks out our video on our website at www.myelderadvocate.com, they will see in that video, that we're Claudine and I are such a team, but they will see that we become part of a family, of the family. And when we advocate for somebody, besides the peace of mind that the family has, knowing that there's always an advocate at a moment's notice, we become. Some of my clients have become, and we've had clients among celebrities and politicians, and all kinds of. Everyone is special to us, but some really high placed people. But whether they're high placed or they're just regular folks looking for the best care, we do become part of that family. So the My Elder Advocate came to me as, you're mine. You're my advocate. You're my mom's advocate. So it's really in line with how we feel about our clients and how they feel about us.
Yeah, it's a fantastic franchise model. And another thing, that they're also getting in addition to that, great brand name is, of course, between both of you, all of your years of experience, which I think is also so important, particularly in this industry, isn't it? To have that industry experience and somebody that they can go to, when they have that question.
Marty, there's one other thing that the franchisee gets that's not listed anywhere here, and that's very unique. I asked a question when we started this: is how does somebody who hasn't become who is not an elder advocate become an instant elder advocate? And I went around in my head and said, okay, how does that happen? Now, I come from management consulting in technology and finance. So one of the things that we do is we workflow product in order to create automation. So I used my experience in that, and I went to Jack, and I basically picked his brain for 6 weeks and put together detailed execution workflows on how to do all of the products that we sell in detail with a series of choices on how to go. And so what I did with that, after I did that, I said, okay, well, my entire business is in this book. So we patented this process and trademarked the process. so that it's only available to My Elder Advocate franchisees.
Wow.
And it helps somebody become an elder advocate between the training and the MIA method that it's called and the support. You can become an instant elder advocate.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic and so important, Claudine, that you did that. Of course, it is what truly, as Jack was saying earlier, makes your company unique, and there's no one else that could ever do really what you're doing, which I think is fantastic. I think that's so important, So it's just, everything about your business model, and looking at it, even as a marketing professor, I have a lot of my students listen to the shows, and it's just the industry, the name, and everything about it is fantastic. And also, you're from Brooklyn, New York, so that even makes it better. So
go Brooklyn, go Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Okay, but
Marty,
we don't do hip hop.
Oh, you don't do hip hop? Okay, well, I don't either, so that's okay. Well, what's the best way for our listeners to get more information on your franchise? Should they go to the website, Jack and Claudine? And you could plug the website, by the way.
Yeah, I think they should go to the website and look through it. And when somebody contacts me, what I tell them is, please go to the website, think about it, review it, and then we'll talk further. If they go to the website
that's myelderadvocate.com, right, Claudine? Is that correct?
www.myelderadvocate.com. It has a page on franchising as well. And on that page, it has our phone number and my email address, and they can contact me at any time through 212-945-7550 or through my email or through the website, whichever way, and I will get back to them immediately or as close as possible to that, and we'll talk.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Jack. Go ahead, Jack.
Just one quick thing, Mike.
Sure.
We also have a very, very widely read blog, which again they can get from the website, and I would appreciate if people would read it and certainly pass it on. It gives people very, very important information about what's going on out there, and that's what people have to become aware of what's available out there if they're going to make good decisions. And certainly if people would subscribe to my blog, I would appreciate that very much. We're also on Twitter at My Elder Advocate, of course, and Facebook and all those other good social media things.
That's fantastic. And I also saw you on YouTube as well, Jack. I actually watched a clip of you doing an interview on YouTube.
On
a couple of different places.
I'm a very handsome guy.
You sure are. Absolutely. I enjoyed that interview. I thought that was fantastic. So it was, once again, it was a pleasure having both of you on the show. And I would like to already invite you back next year as you continue to grow. I think this is a wonderful opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Marty.
It's my pleasure, Claudine and Jack.
Much,
have a great day, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone. Another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. We've been hosting franchise interviews now over 6 years and 300 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from Nancy Bigley, who is the CEO of Bottle & Bottega. And one of the questions we frequently ask on the show is, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? And I thought Nancy's response was really quite brilliant. So here we go with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising.
That came up this week, and how do we need to move through that? So.
Fantastic. You've been involved in like you said, not to make you feel old, but you've been involved in franchising for a while now. What advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring franchipreneurs, Nancy. Most of our listeners, they want to buy a franchise, and I think a lot of them just don't know where to even begin because there's just so many concepts out there today, isn't there? It's just like, where do you start? What would you say to them?
Yeah, you're right. It's so overwhelming, I know, and even just me when I was looking at, different concepts, and so I've been in their shoes, and it is overwhelming, and I think, first and foremost, of course, like the business needs to speak to you. I mean, I think you need to be passionate about it. The business model obviously has to work, so, I mean, just the baseline pieces there. I mean, the model's got to work. It's got to fit your revenue profile and just hours of operation and all those sorts of things that make sense, and but then I think, it's all about, too, once you get past that initial piece and it's something that you're excited about, then you want to really talk to your franchisor. Like, you have to have a connection with your franchisor. You have to, you have to see the vision. You have to feel the passion. You have to feel like it's somebody that you could be a partner with for, minimum of 10 years. And is this somebody that I want a relationship with? And, what are their franchisees saying? And or all the things that I'm hearing in discovery, really what those franchisees are still feeling when they get out into the market. And do you connect with the franchisees? Because, again, the thing that I love so much about franchising is it's such an amazing community. So I feel such a huge responsibility to bring together the right people because you're building a community of franchisees and a family. And, I love that we have all of these amazing backgrounds and, smart people out there that, look, there's a lot of great ideas out there. Not every one of us is, I don't have every single answer and my business partner, so we leverage all of these amazing people. So I think, be passionate about whatever the business is and really feel like you see that same vision and you connect with your franchisor and they're going to give you the support that you need to move forward.
I had a feeling you'd have a detailed response to that question, by the way.
Shocker,
Which
right?
is fantastic. We have this Great Quotes in Franchising podcast that we do is like, advice to, like 5-minute clips, and I think we're going to put that one in there. I think it's
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.